Will uranium lead the way to the next nuclear energy revolution? Well, so far the signs seem to indicate so. It seems to be in a similar circumstance as that of precious metals gold is in its cycle. But perhaps actually uranium, the boat may have just recently already left the dock in terms of its upward swing. But you can still see the boat. It's not that far out into the ocean. Okay, so let's review the monthly, weekly, daily, 4-hour, and 1-hour charts. And what you're going to find is, starting with the monthly, what we have is a falling wedge since the springtime of 2022. It basically peaked, around the fall of 2021, and it entered into a wedge coming into 2022. It's been consolidating since the springtime of this year. And what it's doing right now on the MACD on the monthly is trying to flatten out right here over the zero line. So that's why it hasn't gone down further, and I don't see it going down further, quite frankly. Actually what I think we're looking at right here at a macro level, these are monthly candles, up, consolidate down, and then it's going to make the next move up. And in fact, I think it's already started, and you're going to see that in the lower time frames. Okay, so the next move up has already started. I mean, infant stages, beginning stages. Okay, and so therefore you can expect when that move really starts to go up, oh yeah, you can expect the monthly to flatten out, and then once it's flattened out, then it starts to curl up, and once it starts to cross the green signal line on the monthly, oh, watch out. Watch out. Okay? So, similar to this, see that you have a downwards consolidation. I mean, this is over a couple of years though. Yeah, see, you have downwards consolidation, and then a big move up. So I don't see now this downward consolidation was below the SMA line. Okay, that's a different scenario. That's how I can see why this kept going lower and lower and lower. Here, you're finding support at the EMA 50 line. So this is not going to keep going lower and lower and lower. So, and not only that, when you're finding consolidation support down here for the last 2018 to 2020, the MACD was below the zero line right here. See that? You're above it. So it's a totally different, even though it looks like a general similar downwards consolidation pattern, like, it's down, this is a slight downward, but this is a wedge, and the circumstances are just not the same at all. You can't even compare 2018 to 2020 compared to today's downward wedge formation. There's just no comparison. The circumstances are totally different on the MACD. Support level EMA 50 here, 18.809, right? It's just totally different. Here was under the SMA. Yeah, there's no comparison. So, RSI at 40, okay, mid-range. I mean, that's because you're in that downward wedge consolidation pattern. That's not bearish at all. As you're going to see, so we'll just keep a mental note of the 1 month SMA 20, 22,190. That's resistance, and EMA 50 support. There you have it, right there, perfectly. Okay. Okay, on the 1 month, I'm sorry, the 1 week. This is the 1 week. I drew in the 1 month SMA 20 here for convenience. So, and then I drew in the 1 month EMA 50 down as support for convenience. So it's just easy to see where you are relative. And then right here in the channel, in the resistance and support channel, is the actual weekly SMA right there, and then the weekly EMA. Sorry, weekly EMA up here, weekly SMA right here. Okay, so it is most definitely tracking to the one, just like gold. It is most definitely tracking to the 1 month SMA 20 and 1 month EMA 50. See that? It's perfect. It's perfectly how should I say, respecting it. Respecting it. Okay? So, let's go through a couple of scenarios. See, okay, right here. Here's where I drew this blue arrow. See, okay, so notice, August, September of this year, it made a big move up, but failed the back test. See, right here. Failed the back test against the 1 month SMA 20 line. See that? Perfect. See how it kissed it, bounced off of it, but ultimately failed because that candle straddles the line, and that's a no-no. Okay? But notice how it kissed perfectly the weekly EMA 50 right here at the bottom. So it failed the monthly, but it found temporary support at the weekly EMA 50, but ultimately now it's not meant to be. And here's why it wasn't meant to be. Because this failed the back test here, right here. It's no surprise because if you look at the takeoff point, which is right here, so here's your takeoff candle, right? Your takeoff candle is right about right here. We'll just call it right there. It's too far below the zero line to be taking off. See that? You have too much ground to cover. So actually, knowing what I know about the MACD, this big attempt to go up was merely an attempt to get closer to the zero line. It was never intending to actually cross the zero line. It was never intending to. It was just intended to get close up, and then it was intended to come down, but make a higher low. See, here is higher than here. That's all. I'm figuring out that's what the MACD is really trying to do. That's what in the regular equities market, SPY futures. That's all that's doing. Like all big moves overnight, for example, it's just boom, big move up. Because all it's doing, its only intent is to get closer to the zero line, but not really cross the zero line. Because it knows it has more to go, but it wants to make ultimately a higher low notch like this. See that? That's all these big moves are intended to do. So basically you can figure out that this is actually, in the end, it's a head fake. And you know it's a head fake because of your starting point too far below right here. Or we'll just say right here. Too far below the zero line. Okay? See that? It was a head fake because you're too far below. It's like, no, this ain't gonna work. So that brings us to. Okay, so I just want to call out some observations. Notice how, see that the monthly, the 1 month EMA 50 right here. Look how the weekly respects it, time and time and time again, over and over and over and over again. See that? So that's what you're tracking to. There's your support line right there. And there's your resistance line. Okay? So that brings us to today. See, so you notice how today it just keeps creeping up. And it's still flat. But one of these times, it's going to start to curl up. And now your takeoff point is not down here. Your takeoff point is up here. And that's when I expect it's going to cross the zero line. And then that's when it's game on. And I'm talking about the weekly here. Okay? See, so, you know, you can see it. Once you see it, the red line start to curl up, like starting, right in this range or so, right? Starts to curl up, watch out. You're going to start getting some big moves. Right now it's flat. But you're going to see in the daily slide next, I think it's already starting to. It's already starting to make the move. Because right now it's on the lower half of the channel, right here. But I think it's already starting, actually. It's yeah, it's already starting. I think we're gonna uranium's gonna slowly go up and up and up, and then boy, you start to curl up and you start to get past that zero line. That's when you're gonna bust through this SMA 20. Okay, and when you look at this weekly chart, see that? See how it looks like a bowl? It's a bowl, down, bottom, coming back up. I don't think it's gonna look back because now you're on the upswing. All right, you're not on the downswing anymore. You're on the upswing now. I don't think it's gonna look back because when you talk about, go back to the monthly. See that? So up, down, up. That's just the natural progression. So that's what I mean. It's going to be making newer highs. Once it starts that upswing, it's going to be making newer highs than what this is. So you are in the very, very beginning, uranium. Very, very beginning stages of an upswing. You're not going down. There's no way. Not based on what I see here. The MACD. See, the RSI is at 56. See, that's what I mean. You're in the 50s range. Because in the 50s range, what you're doing in the MACD, see, it's just creeping up, creeping up, creeping up, creeping up, creeping up, creeping up, creeping up. And then for you to get into the 80s range, you're going to cross that zero line on the MACD. That's how you get into the 80s range. You're gonna pierce it. So, like let's see here. See, okay, this is very interesting. So you notice how this is the MACD back when it tried to, overtake the SMA 20. You notice how even on the RSI right here, RSI touched the 80 line but never pierced it. That's consistent with getting close to the zero line but not piercing it, which is consistent with you failed the back test because you're not ready. It's not your time. When the day comes, when the MACD crosses the zero line, especially on the weekly, okay? Whew. When the day comes, it crosses the zero line, and the RSI pierces the 80 line, or you're going to succeed on that back test. I guarantee it. You're not going to fail that back test like you did here. Okay? I mean, that's just basically how to interpret that. Okay? So that's the 1 week. Nothing more to say about that. Let's go to the daily. Daily chart. Here we go. There once again, I drew in the 1 month and the 1 month SMA, right? 1 month EMA, 1 month SMA right there. See that? Now, notice this. Higher, low, higher, low. So now you're making higher lows on a falling wedge. And the MACD now, look at the daily. It's getting close to zero too. See, a couple of times it's coming up and then it come back down, making higher lows. You can expect, look at the RSI, 76 on the daily. See that? That's great. See that? You're just making higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, getting close to the zero line. So, like I said earlier at the beginning of the episode, I think the boat's already just left. It just left. You can still see it. You might even be able to swim to it if you wanted to. It just left. So, if anything, if you wanted to get in early, I think now's the time, because there's nothing that I see here that it's going to go down. Okay, I mean it's just not. So, good RSI, good MACD on the daily. Look at that, close to getting closer and closer and closer to the zero line. It's just ready to. Yeah, it's mounting to make a move here. Okay, 4-hour chart. Once again, drawing in the 1 month, right? So, I mean, here we go. You're still at the lower half of the channel, but I think you're going up there. I think that's where it's headed to, because look at that. I mean, look at the 4-hour. Look at that. This big leg cycle, I'll say, that is higher low than that. See what I mean? And now look what you're doing. Up, and now you're crossing over the zero line on the 4-hour chart. Look at that. RSI 71. Okay, good. But see, but look at that. I mean, this is the 4-hour chart. It's already above the zero line, and it's separating from the signal line. That's not bearish. That's bullish. I think you're going to the top of the channel. So I think it's. I mean, this is the 4-hour chart. You're making the MACD go up like this. That's going to feed into the daily to make it go up like this, get the daily close to the zero line. And then I think that it's going to be time. It's going to be time to permanently pierce the top of that resistance line on the SMA 20, 1 month SMA 20. I think that's what it's trying to do. And you're still right here. It's still got more ground to go, but I think it's going to be able to do it. By the time it gets up there and the MACD keeps doing what it's doing and the RSI keeps doing what it's doing, it's going to pierce this line when it's time. So, I mean, this could be, weeks out. I mean, you saw earlier on the weekly MACD, it's still flat, but it's going up, right? It's not separating yet. I think as it gets, so you can expect this to keep floating up. And as it gets closer to the SMA 20, you're going to start to see some separation on the MACD, I think. I mean, you're seeing it now in the 4-hour. But what you need to see it on is, if this keeps up, then you need to see it on the daily and then the weekly. You need to start to see that separation, which I think is going to happen if this trend continues, right? There's no reason to think that it won't. So that's the 4-hour. And here's the 1-hour. Earlier I pointed out that higher low between here and there. Same thing. Once again, EMA 50, SMA 20. Yeah, still in the early. You're still in the early innings of the ball game here. I think it's maybe second inning, something like that. Okay, so I mean, so far, look at that. RSI 77. This is the 1-hour. Look at that. Higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, coming above zero. This is all very, very encouraging to see. So I think uranium is ahead even of gold, because gold, I think, is waiting on something, as I said in that previous episode. I think uranium, they're not waiting. I think the boat just left, or the ball game just got started. I mean, it just got started. All you did was just miss the national anthem or something, maybe, and so while you're out getting your drinking popcorn still. But no, you're not missing anything. This is the beginning of a big cycle, as you saw in the monthly and on the first slide. We are basically, I think it's at the end of the consolidation phase. It's at the beginning of an upswing now. It's done consolidating. Right here, this is all consolidation. I see that. That's a higher low than that. I think it's just beginning the upswing. No more consolidating. Let's go. So, I think that's where you're at with uranium. So, that's all I've got. Hope that review is helpful. And so, if you guys like to follow me on Twitter, please feel free to do so. I give daily updates on how the market's doing. Basically, sports broadcasting, real time on Twitter. Please give it a like, share, subscribe, or click to be notified if you would like to see future videos. And with that, I'm Agent 000 signing off.